Hey friends, it's Deanne with Follow My Ride. It's Farrier Day and we're going to learn a little bit about hooves. It's also a very blustery day today, but at least no rain.
The 28 bacteria that make up thrush are all anaerobic in nature, and let's just adjust. There you go. So they thrive in an oxygen depleted environment. And that environment, where this mud is packed on here, right against the hoof surface, the sole surface, is like the perfect little breeding ground. And all the black that we get as we dig deeper here, black tar-like material, is dead tissue from that bacteria. So our side-to-side balance, we're high in here. We want to bring these hooves into balance, so that way the joint spacing stays equal and they don't have excessive pressure on the sides of the joint capsules, which can cause soreness and lameness. And she wears her feet down pretty well. So we're not very, very far off. We definitely want to address it sooner than later through routine maintenance. Overall, we've still got a very stiff and firm frog. But again, we are ending up with that very sensitive area in there. I'll get that little tag off of there. Okay. There you go, good kiddo. What we've got here, yeah, we're high on the inside and then long on that toe in the front there. We'll take that down a little bit and we'll get back here and get that nipped off, because that's not comfortable. That's that hard tissue against that real sensitive stuff. And we'll come in, we'll bring this lever off of here. You hear about Navicular horses and how that can be a man-caused disease through long toes and low heels. Applies extra pressure on that navicular bone. And with our wet feet, we end up with a lot of long toes and distortion. So this is not too bad. That's a pretty good distance there. We got toe callus about a thumb's width or 3/4 of an inch in front of the apex of the frog. So that's really pretty good shape for a foot.
So the thing with those cracks then is just to keep the moisture out of there.
Just keep them dry and exposed to the air as much as possible. Whatnot that's getting down to the feet, keeping everything bound together. We don't have those vertical cracks, splits that a lot of them will get from not necessarily poor nutrition, but poor nutrition getting to the feet. Since the hooves are the last part to get any benefit.
Yeah.
So when we have your feed through supplements, and one of the supplements that I like is the Farrier's formula. Biotin and keratin that's in it is bioavailable, so they can actually absorb it and use it. There's some feeds out there and supplements that have the materials in them but don't absorb into the body very well. So see, again, here's those soft spots underneath, and so I'll try and sweep those out and clean that, open it up as much as I can without causing discomfort.
Paris, we don't need you untying her.
I'm helping. This is the big helper. And the bars are a continuation of the hoof wall. Oh baby, you got this. Hold on, a little bit more, okay? Continuation of the hoof wall, and they need to be there to anchor the back. Okay, take a break. All right, you needed a break. But they can create a pressure point too if they get too tall. So I like to sweep those down, Some of the pressure off. Okay. All right, ready to go again? Yeah, good old kid. Okay. All right. Take you a little bit more. We're pretty well balanced side to side. We've got a little toe on the inside here, just like the other. Get that extra little bit. Pretty aggressive rasp, so I can take a lot of material off pretty quickly with that.
Does the age of the horse affect the amount of growth?
Quite a little bit. Just like us, as we get older, we don't produce as much material. You know, like in our fingernails and things like that, they'll slow down. And these guys are the same thing. You know, and then as your immune system, as you get older, your immune system gets a little weaker, and so you don't fight off the bacteria as well, and the funguses as well. And so it makes them a little more susceptible to thrush. And I said both of your guys don't have what I see a lot around here is that the white line. Someone call it a white line disease. It's just basically it's thrush and bacteria that's gotten into the connective tissue between the sole and the wall. And these two are great about that. They don't have that problem. They just got the soft frogs, which, you know, we're constantly wet. We'd like to take a camping trip coming up here this next, the first part of April. And we'll head over to central Washington where it's quite a little bit drier. And it always amazes me that in 4 or 5 days, in that drier environment, I can watch the shape of all the hooves change, and they actually will contract. And shoes that were tight when you went over are loose, and they start to rattle a little bit when you get there. And then the frogs will tighten up.
Yeah, I guess we feel it in our hands if you're wearing a ring. You know?
Exactly. Yeah, everything. Yeah, it's all these little things that, you know, unless you're really looking for it, you don't really notice. And but all the hooves will start to dry, and moisture gets sucked out of them. They get harder, and they provide more protection for the horse. Life gets a little better for them. Like this time of year, so this area here has kind of been sloughed off, and then we've got a little lump there. That little lump off. Just like their hair, the frogs will slough off once a year. And this one's already done it. So we've got cleaner, healthier tissue, and it's pretty smooth on these sides. But again, she didn't grow a lot of wall. Here you go. Let's take a break. Good kiddo. Relax. There we go. Yeah, the need for routine maintenance, to make minor adjustments regularly, so that way joints and tendons aren't strained and damaged. It doesn't look like you do a whole lot, but little bits all the time keeps them balanced and going straight, so it keeps healthy and structurally sound as long as possible. We've got this been split. But the rest of the foot's looking pretty good. Like, again, you know, this sole wall junction is really tight and clean. Scrape this off here, and we see that white line, which is actually that yellowish line in color there.
So if there is white line disease, you see a space in there?
They'll be black.
Oh.
The connective tissue will be deteriorated, compromised by the bacteria that's eating the soft tissue of the frog. So that same black tar-like material that's down here in the grooves and in the central sulcus will be present around these edges here. And that lamina, that connective tissue, it's like Velcro that holds the wall to the inner capsule of the hoof. And we'll show it on our model here in a little bit. But that lamina, like Velcro, it holds everything in place and it keeps that bony column solid inside the hoof capsule. But unlike Velcro, once it peels apart, it doesn't go back together.
Not gonna stick again.
And So what'll happen, especially in a wet, deformed foot that hasn't been maintained, you get that leverage and that flare on the sides especially, and as that peels apart, that lamina will open up, and as that opens up, it'll fill in with a soft scar-like material called laminar wedge. And that is not as structurally sound, and it's very porous.
What do you smell, Doc?
You smell another horse?
I can't see you, so I have to nuzzle you.
Yeah, and I'm okay with that. You're a good kid. There you go.
She's a good girl.
Yeah. But that laminar wedge is very porous, and it's a conduit for that bacterial invasion. I mean, it just opens it up, and it's just an easy entry point. And so very important to get that cleaned out, get air to it. And then I like to use, and I'm not stuck on one particular brand or another, but I like to use a very viscous material, like a tincture of iodine or something that's very thin. So that way, when you put it on there, it wicks up into that material. So you can actually get up there and get some medication, or into that that bacterially ridden area. Let's see if we can do this so everybody can see. Okay. And that right there, just cleaning that out, is one of the biggest things that the owner could do.
Yeah.
Because now we've opened that up, and you can see actually right here there's that black right on the surface. And that surface bacteria, that's the thrush that's eating that up. But that has been able to grow since, there you go, take a break. That's been able to grow on the sole of the foot since the last time that she put her foot in the dirt and sealed that off.
Gotcha.
So that's where that wet is such a problem for us. And a dry.
Yes, it's drying out now.
Yeah, finally, there's hope. Saw a blue patch of sky earlier. But yeah, anytime we can get them as dry as possible, then we've got a chance. Okay, kid? All right, last one. There you go, good kiddo. So our side-to-side balance is really good. We've got a little bit of that dish going on there naturally. Bring that down, enhance that a little bit. She's got very good structure to her feet. That helps quite a little bit. Our biggest concern for her is that frog is just not near as robust as we'd really like it to be. So that frog holds up the digital cushion. The digital cushion, you see, baby, come on, you can do this. There you go. That digital cushion supports the navicular region, the navicular bone, and keeps the pressure off of it like a little sling. A little bit more. There you go. There we go. Good kid. Oh, thank you. Yeah. And that is about all we really need to do to hers. It's like on this hoof here, this frog has dried and contracted when they prepared the hoof. And it's very small for what it should be. We'd like it to be very bulbous, because this pushes up every time the horse steps down, and it pushes up and engages this digital cushion. And that digital cushion will press up against, and this small bone here that we see here, and then a different angle across here, is the navicular bone. And when the frog is damaged by the bacteria, eaten away, and isn't near as robust, it doesn't press up and support this region underneath the navicular bone, and then it hangs on the deep digital flexor tendon, which runs underneath and attaches to the bottom of the coffin bone or the pedal bone. And that stress right there is what will cause the breakdown and damage to that little navicular bone. And as soon as once that's damaged, then we have a sore spot on the hoof, and it's chronic.
So when they do surgery, What are they doing?
So there are different methodologies that they go in and do nerve blocks.
So number 4 there is the coffin bone.
No, number 3 is your coffin bone.
Okay.
And then number 4 is the navicular bone.
Gotcha.
And it's not a very large bone by any means. It's a very small space. I liken it to the end of a crane, and you have the roller, the wheel where the cable goes over the top and then down to the load. And all that load is hanging on that little pivot point. And so essentially, this is that wheel and pulley right at the end of a crane, and that deep digital flexor tendon that supports all the way to the hoof of the horse down through the hoof is resting right on that. So without a good digital cushion to support that, it's just free hanging in the air.
Wow.
And I've actually seen some of those on cadaver horses where there's been so much pressure and friction right through here where that rubs that the bone is actually burned brown. So it had to be an extreme pain. But as that connects here and then springs up, that's the forward propulsion. That's that rocking forward. So what we could do to help prevent that, obviously keep the frog as healthy as possible to provide support, and keep the toe back so we reduce the amount of leverage out on the end. So routine maintenance, especially in our wet environment, this hoof wall and that white line area get a lot of stress. The hoof wall gets wet, gets soft, starts to turn and migrate forward, which pulls the heel forward. So as this gets longer, that gets pulled forward, it collapses it, compounds the problem, increases the stress and pressure on that little navicular bone.
So now as we're coming into spring and all the grass that's going to be growing and people wanting to get their horses out on grass.
Sugar.
What is the prevention there?
Sugar is a huge problem. I am
for
against
all of us.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, all cancer feeds off sugar for us, and it causes swelling in this connective tissue, in this lamina, and weakens it. And it's likened to hitting your thumb with a hammer. The pressure has nowhere to go because the hoof capsule holds all that swelling in. And so imagine smashing your thumb with a hammer and now having to walk on your thumb. And that's the kind of pain that we're seeing them in. And a lot of that is caused by the overload of sugar. As soon as the grass starts to photosynthesize, it collects sugar, it builds itself up. I liken it to a solar battery or a solar charged battery. During the day, the grass is building up its sugar, it's building up its reserves for the night. So the sugar climbs up the stem, then at night, it feeds off of that, sugar goes down. So in your mornings, if it hasn't frozen, and this is where we get a lot of conflicting information, but if there hasn't been frost, the morning times, the upper portion of that grass has less sugar in it. So that's a little bit of a safer time to be feeding your horses out on the pasture. If it has frozen or frosted, the grass will shock and it'll hold itself in it or hold those sugars in there in reserve.
Or if the pasture's been overgrazed?
If it's overgrazed, the very bottom of that grass stem is where all the sugar's concentrated. Horses for Clean Water Act and at the county extension, I was able to get a yardstick that shows basically the bottom 4 inches of the grass belongs to the grass. The next 4 to 6 inches belongs to the horse, and then anything above that, mow it.
Yeah. Don't I wish I could get 8 inches of
Yeah,
grass.
if you get that much grass growing out here.
So, Miss Dottie, it's you playing with that. I was blaming Paris. Oh, what you jumping?
She says, I got something to play with.
Yeah, silly. You're okay.
Yep.
Different stuff.
Yeah, some of the other indicators for too much sugar is a cresty neck right across the top. We do not have that problem here. We've got a nice straight line going on. And if you pinch at the base of the mane, we don't have that overpressurized inner tube, bicycle inner tube kind of feel.
Yeah, think like donkeys get.
Exactly. And because they're not made for the grass and the green that we give them.
For sure.
Yeah, you guys are a lot easier keepers than we give you credit for.
So what are some things that you would want people, the owners, to prepare their horses for before you go see them, or any other farrier?
Before I get a new client, if somebody calls me up, the very first thing that I want them to do is go around and pick up all the feet. It's not my job to get kicked by a horse that doesn't know the job. His job is to stand there and relax, be calm, be comfortable, and used to somebody handling their feet. So from an owner perspective, get them in a calm environment. Like right here, these two are very used to being here. This is their safe space. So they're gonna be more relaxed, less jumpy. And you've worked with them quite a little bit. They're used to picking up their feet. So they're gonna be relaxed about somebody handling their feet. So between that and then just being aware of what the horse is doing. We had one just yesterday where the horse swung around and poked me in the backside with his nose. And the horse owner's like, well, don't worry about it. He's never bit anybody. I've seen career-ending injuries from horses that never bit anybody until it did. So be aware of what the horse is doing. Keep them calm, straight. Every time they do turn their heads, their feet rotate and they turn, and they make it just that much more difficult to get a nice even surface and a truly flat, balanced trim. And then just in between times, cleaning those feet as frequently as possible and taking a brush, even a wire brush, like a barbecue cleaning type brush, and just scraping them off and just getting air to the bottoms of the feet. It's about the best thing you can do.
And a maintenance schedule about every 6 to 8 weeks.
Varies, but in our area, at least every 6, no more than 8 weeks. In a very dry climate, I know shoeing cycles go out as far as 12 weeks. They don't have the bacterial issues. The feet grow slower. They're harder. They don't deform. Here, because of our wet environment, they deform quicker. Right. And so we need to keep that maintenance schedule shorter.
Very good. Thank you.
You're very welcome.
Thanks so much to Brian for spending time teaching us about the hoof and hoof care. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to hit that thumbs up and of course subscribe so you won't miss out on any other videos. Happy trails!